Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 83.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hi there. My name is Toby Jenkins, and this is the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. We take you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments, where we share the good, the bad, and the ugly. In this show, I'm speaking with Liz Atkinson-Volpe. Now, Liz is the founder of Zest Possibilities, which is a promotional agency based in Melbourne, but working internationally for all kinds of different clients. But her big passion was to try to raise, through her business, over $200 million for charities, and she is well on her way. They are up over $140 million raised for charities through her promotional campaigns that she runs for her clients. So that's an extraordinary achievement. She's also the co-founder of the League of Extraordinary Women, which has grown from none, her and the two co-founders, to 25,000 plus members all over the world. And finally, the other project that Liz and I dive into today is Project Gen Zed, where Liz has teamed up with a number of other entrepreneurs to travel to Cambodia to help develop entrepreneurial skills in children. And so it's a really broad-ranging discussion. We talk about the challenges that Liz has faced, how she juggles family and work, because she does have a young son, and what her turning point was to really want to try and change the world. And it's an absolute cracker. So thank you very much, Liz. And as always, this show is brought to you by our book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus 33 free templates that go with it. You can download them from www.bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Let's get started. Liz, thanks so much for joining me on the show today. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here as well.
Now, Liz, looking through your profiles, going through what I know of your history, you've been involved with a whole bunch of different projects and different businesses and what have you. How do you sort of go about answering, that standard question, which is, what do you do?
Oh my goodness, so hard to explain.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah, if someone was to ask you out at a bar or something, what do you do?
Do you know what? I think that I am just a world changer. I think that puts it down into kind of a couple of words. In a nutshell, I started out in event sales and promotions. So I guess I got used to and into the market of speaking for a living and talking and building relationships. And from that, really, my businesses have expanded and gone into a range of different places, but all around basically making a difference on the world.
Gotcha. So if we wind the clock back, where did you start, and what has the path been like to sort of get to here?
Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster, as most entrepreneurial and business journeys are.
Yep.
I actually originally came to Australia just as a backpacker, I think probably 13 years ago now. And I managed to get some work just to earn a little bit of a living in a sales company. And it was one of those horrendous jobs where I had to stand on the street in the middle of Sydney and stop people for a living and attempt to sell things face-to-face commission only.
Wow.
And and as you can imagine, got a lot of people telling me to go away and a few swear words and the rest of it. But there was something about the challenge of actually getting out there and standing on my own 2 feet and earning, writing my own paycheck for the week that I absolutely loved. So sales was something that just really got me. And from there, I ended up about 4 years after that actually setting up my own sales company. And we were, I guess,
Possibilities, right?
Yeah, that's right. So clients came to us when they had some type of product or service that they just want to throw out into the market. And I designed then and implemented sales campaigns for them on an international basis across Australia and New Zealand. We did that just by giving them a big, crazy, young, fun sales team. So that's kind of how the journey started. And I guess that journey of being able to take all of the no's and the rejection and going through those tough times kind of gave me that perseverance to continue and obviously keep the business growing and growing from there.
Because Adam and I, when we were starting up Blue Wire, we did quite a bit of pavement pounding as well, knocking on doors and that sort of thing. And it definitely thickens up the skin, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It does. But, such a necessary skill to learn. And I think, from having to go through that, I am the person that I am today because of it. And I think it's extremely important to learn how to keep a positive mentality and attitude no matter what's being thrown at you. So,
yeah, absolutely. And so in terms of setting up your own business then, can you tell us a bit more about Zest? Why did you actually start Zest in the first place?
I never considered being a business owner as such throughout my life. But when I look back now, I'd tried to actually start so many small businesses up to the age of 18. So I think it was a natural progression for me to get into. What
were some of those?
Something. Oh my goodness. I remember actually trying to set up a model and acting agency at the age of 17 back in England. And I actually did pretty well looking back now, apart from the fact I couldn't manage money. And as soon as I got some money, I spent it all on things that I didn't need and then didn't have any money to continue. The usual stuff, selling things to your neighbours and all the rest of it. So I think when I actually started working in face-to-face sales and started to absolutely love it, and after a few years, I was pretty good as well. I think it was a natural progression just to kind of give it a shot myself, but it wasn't easy, that's for sure. I actually at one point went through the usual visa problems that you do as an English person, and got given 28 days to leave the country and had to get sorted out with that. But I guess from setting Zest up in the very beginning, the clients that we've been working with are some of the best clients, from some of the biggest financial institutions in the country, through to my passion, which is working directly with some of the biggest charities in the world. So big campaigns like working, Amnesty International at the moment are running a huge campaign for violence against women campaigns.
Yep.
That's just one of many we've worked with, and we've managed to raise 140 million for the charities we work for over the last 9 years.
Wow,
so we're very
isn't that
proud
awesome?
Of that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it's
well done.
Really good. So that's kind of a little bit of background about how Zest grew. We moved into events and promotions as well. So some of the best things we've done, we ran Kanye West's after party a couple of years ago in Melbourne. That was fun. We've been on stage with U2 when they toured a couple of years ago in Melbourne as well. Ran the St Kilda Festival. So we're a promotional agency, really. It's just about providing that staff to, represent people's brands and do the best possible job.
Yeah. And so talk me through then sort of this passion, I guess, that you've got for changing the world. Was it a natural thing to go straight into dealing with the charities in terms of the promotional agency, or was that something that you actively decided to do, or was it something you fell into? How did that sort of work?
I actually fell into it. I'd never been overly, humanitarian or anything beforehand. I fell into working with charities and doing marketing for them by accident, and so working really closely with the charities just gave me that really good insight into the incredible work that they actually did. I've been lucky enough to go on some amazing overseas trips to places like Borneo, Vietnam, Cambodia, and just see the crazy stuff that, we hear about on the news, but actually to see it face to face, I think really ingrained that passion to really want to make a difference in me. So for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, that's what my purpose has been about, is to do what I can to make people's lives better. That's
awesome. Has there been a process in terms of you finding, was there a mechanism that, because I think one of the common challenges, and certainly something that I've felt myself, is that challenge of, there's so many ways that you could contribute, I guess, and that paradox of choice, and that, getting completely overwhelmed by the flood of problems that you could help to solve, but ultimately, choosing one. Like, was there something that really leapt out for you or something that resonated personally with you? How did you make that choice?
This is really based around where Project Gen Zed came from, actually, because when I did go over to Cambodia in 2011, I went into Geraldine Cox's orphanage, which is a Sunrise Children's Villages, where I met the most amazing little kids of all ages. These little children were just the most positive, very shy, but really kind of open to learning, and just beautiful little children with really great natures. And as I learned about the children and actually heard their stories, they'd be, the stuff that you do hear on the news, they'd been rescued from either prostitution, they'd been orphaned because their parents had died of AIDS, they'd been rescued from begging circles. At that particular point then, it was a pretty upsetting trip, to be honest, just actually being faced with listening to those stories. But one little girl actually was probably the reason why I'm doing what I do right now. And her name was Wow. And her name is just so perfect for who she is, because when you meet her, you are like, wow, you are amazing.
Wow,
and
you are wow.
Yeah. And her story was, she, at a really young age, she was in Thailand living with her family when her father actually passed away. And their mum it was really hard for her to actually bring up both Wow and her little sisters as well. And as it happens to lots of different families in Thailand, Wow's mum actually had to give her up as the oldest daughter. And she was sold into a begging circle. Whoa. And, every single day she'd go out with loads of kids and head out there just to raise money, to earn money every day. And one particular day she got back to the house where all the kiddies lived, and a man walked into the room and threw a litre of battery acid in Wow's face. And she was left to suffer without any medical attention. Basically, the aim was to make her a better beggar. So,
oh boy,
it's a pretty crazy story. But after meeting her, I don't know, it really changed the way that I guess, number one, I looked at my own life. We go through tough times, but really, not really that tough when you hear that type of a story.
No, it puts it all in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it does. And from that day onwards, when I left that trip to Cambodia, I just knew at some point that I would do something with children. So I've always worked with lots of different charities, from wildlife charities through to, campaigns like Amnesty International. But becoming a mum myself a couple of years ago just really brought that story of Wow back clearly into my head. So that was my mission. I've been kind of having that itch to do something for Wow and all those beautiful children at Sunrise. And a few months ago, I had a light bulb moment. Project Gen Zed was formed.
Yeah, so walk us through Project Gen Zed.
Yeah, so Project Gen Zed is a group of Australian entrepreneurs, including myself, and we're going to be heading over to Cambodia at the end of this year and running entrepreneurial workshops for all of the kids from the ages of around about 15 plus. So we're talking about really important life skills, that we don't necessarily get taught anywhere in the world, such as how to keep a positive mental attitude, how to goal set. These things that when they come to leave the orphanage, when they get to around about 21, they'll have those skills that will really help them stand on their own 2 feet a little bit more. So the plan, the workshops we're about to release are called Dare to Dream, the Dare to Dream workshop series. And we've got the most incredible group of entrepreneurs going over there that are all just so excited to make a difference with the kids there.
Yeah, great. And so walk us through how you've gone about recruiting, those entrepreneurs.
Well, I'm very lucky because I've got lots of networks across the country. After setting up the League of Extraordinary Women, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about. But the first thing I did was to go and speak to some of my incredible female business owner friends. I recruited straight away 2 young ladies, one girl called Cheryl Tai. She owns the most incredible cupcake store down here in Melbourne. She owns a few actually. And
I have a thing for cupcakes.
They're amazing. Oh, really? You need to come to this one. And another young lady called Sarah Riegelhuth, she's the co-founder of Wealth Enhancers, which is an award-winning Gen Y finance company. So I brought them 2 on board, which I was really excited about. And I'm then lucky enough to know an incredible guy. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, Andrew Morello.
I have. In prep for this interview, I did a bit of background on him, but
yeah. He was actually the first ever winner of the Apprentice series on TV in Australia.
Yep.
And since then, he's gone on to do all sorts of amazing things. And this guy has got an incredible big heart. So I was really lucky enough to schedule some time in his very, very, very busy diary to bring him on board, as well as a girl called Christina Wiley that is the founder of The Great Aussie Bite, which is an online publication. And also my husband, Jesse Volpe, who is an absolute killer salesperson and has got some incredible skills he can pass on as well. So I tried to recruit looking at a range of different skills. So when we go over there, we can obviously pass those skills on and make a genuine difference, because that's obviously the main point.
Yeah, and so is the plan to sort of structure a program over how many days? And
yeah, it's going to be based over 3 days. Now, the one thing that we were very, very aware of is that there are obviously differences to, us here in Australia to people in Cambodia. So we've had to be really, really careful on making sure that the stuff that we're teaching, they're, number one, going to understand it, and number two, they'll believe what we're saying, and, make sure that we're not just coming across as, Westerners can do anything. So what we've actually done is we've set up the first day of workshops to actually be run alongside some local Cambodian successful business people. Right. And they're actually going to be coming in. So when we're teaching a subject, as an example, goal setting, we're also then at the end of each topic going to hear a 10 to 15 minute real life story from someone that's actually used that skill there in Cambodia.
Right.
Which is going to be
is language an issue over there? Or
yeah,
you'll have a translator, I presume?
We'll have a couple of translators. The children actually do speak pretty good English, which is nice.
Wow.
But we will have a few translators in there as well. Great. Awesome. And then on the second, third day, we're actually going to be running a mini apprentice style challenge, and Andrew Morella's going to be taking charge on that one.
Very appropriate.
So we'll be. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to split all the kids up into groups. So we'll have a finance team, we'll have a PR and marketing team, we'll have a sales team, and we're going to actually set up a mini business in one day where we're going to invent a product, we're going to market it, we're going to hopefully make money in the same day. So we're going to teach them how to go out and sell it, and it's hopefully going to be very fun. And definitely give them that opportunity to actually try things and make it a little bit more real.
And great challenge for you guys too.
Yes, it will.
I'm sure. So Liz, walk us through, we sort of jumped over the League of Extraordinary Women as well. So can you tell us a bit more about that too? Because I think that's a really interesting part of your background too.
The League of Extraordinary Women was a complete accident as well. I've always had a passion for helping younger girls in business. The reason being is that myself, I didn't exactly come from a background of being surrounded by, friends or family that had run businesses, and had never really been given that option. But at the same time, I'd been running Zest for probably around about 5 or 6 years, and I was pretty lonely at times. It was tough. Marketing generally is quite a male-dominated industry, and I just felt like I needed somewhere to go where I could just chat with other women, with that going through similar problems, get advice from people. So I'd started to search for, mentors and friends, and I attended a really big seminar in Melbourne a few years ago, and I remember looking around the crowd, and it was pretty much 85% men, hardly any women. But on the break, I decided to go and hunt a couple of the women out that I did see. And that's where I met Cheryl and Sarah. And I got introduced to another girl called Marie, and we met at Cheryl's cupcake store. And over these cupcakes, we were kind of thinking, well, we should really throw a little event where maybe we can get together and once a month, and maybe we can, support each other and chat to each other about business and, help each other build their businesses. So we decided to book out a table in one of the local bars, and then we just did a Facebook event, to be honest. And within 2 weeks, we'd actually sold out the entire venue and sold 180 tickets, all from female business owners in Melbourne, wow, which is unreal. So that was in 2011. And overnight, we started to get emails from everywhere, from New Zealand to Tasmania to New York, of basically females like us that were feeling the exact same way. And since then, the league was born, and we now run all across Australia, and we've launched in the UK, about to launch in the US, and we've got about 25,000 members now, which is exciting.
Wow. It is a league. It's an extraordinary league of extraordinary women. That's awesome.
It is. It is. So that was a nice surprise, a really nice surprise.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, that idea of sort of scratching your own itch? you solve your own problem and all of a sudden you realize that there's this huge untapped marketplace, I guess, of people looking for the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a surprise. Like, we could not believe it. And even now, we're just growing so fast, organically. And it's amazing now because we get to travel the country and just meet these amazing women, that are doing incredible things. Just to be constantly surrounded by that type of a person in business, is so important.
It's hugely powerful, isn't it?
It is.
Liz, one thing that I guess I've noticed about your career is that ability to sort of network and build a community around, the businesses and initiatives like Project Gen Zed and stuff that you are undergoing. Like, is that something that you consciously do? Is it, do you do it strategically? Can you walk us through sort of what your mindset is there?
Oh, it's definitely not strategically. I mean, I think looking back at my journey through business and the way that I've been led has just been a case of continuing to always understand the reason why I go into work every day and really following my intuition and following my passions. Yep. And from keeping that in sight and making sure that I'm really understanding what motivates me. I've naturally come across these things and been involved, with people like the girls at the league and even with Project Gen Zed, gathering together similar-minded people is so exciting for me. And it's definitely not been a strategy. It just feels easy and right. And if something feels easy and right to me, I always go with it. Yeah. Because it shows that my passion's in exactly the right place to make it work.
Yep. I mean, on this particular podcast, we talk a lot about marketing and business in general as well. But have you had examples of where things haven't worked out so well? Because you've had a couple of crackers, obviously. But are you happy to share a couple of stories of things that haven't worked so well?
Oh, let me have a think. Put me on the spot there. There's just so many. I mean,
or even sorry to give it some context, because I think your point about it being easy and feeling right is a great example of, kind of that intuition of knowing that you're doing something and going the right way. Have there been instances where you've tried to push it some other direction, feeling that it was against your instinct, but doing it anyway?
Yeah, I've done that quite a few times. Even a good example a few years ago, after running Zest for quite a long time and getting some really good success in the industry and specializing in, certain types of campaigns, I got a little bit bored and I was starting to think, I need a new challenge. Maybe I'll try something completely different. And I attempted to set up a brand new type of promotion that we'd never done before with a client that actually I really didn't have any passion for at all. And it was the worst mistake ever. I spent way too much money. It was a waste of time and effort. And, my intuition was always saying it wasn't going to work. And I think sometimes moving away from what you're actually good at might sound really exciting for a bit because it's a new challenge, but really you're good at something for a reason. It's good to kind of stay in that area instead of venturing off too often. Yeah,
I guess it's a good reminder of what you are good at.
Yes,
when things
we're definitely not good at everything, are we?
No,
we like to think we are. But
Yeah. That's really cool. That's a great example. Thank you. And the thing that you've found has been surprising in terms of results that you've, that League of Extraordinary Women you said was quite a surprise for you. Has there been other areas that, where you really didn't expect much, but then you had surprising results?
I mean, the biggest thing that comes to my mind is probably when I initially started to work for different charities. And at the time, the business was very small and very, very new. And I was probably a young girl with a stupid accent and no real credibility in the industry as such. And I always remember wanting to dream really, really big because I'd found a passion, working on behalf of charities. And I remember announcing to what was a very, very small team at that time that I wanted the Zest team to actually raise 200 million for charity. And everyone looked at me like I was the most craziest person in the world. And, I felt like an idiot saying it out loud as well. But it was funny because, and I think this really did to me, was understand that importance of having a vision in a business. You know, although everyone thought I was a bit stupid at first, the more that I said it, the more that I believed it, and the more that all of the staff and the team believed it as well. And the first year of us actually going out there and working with charities, we'd already raised, I think, $2 or $3 million in the first year. Mm-hmm. And that's when we were very, very small. So I think that was just an amazing, incredible surprise to me as well, that, you know, the power of a team with a vision can really create anything. And, you know, now when I say to anyone we want to raise 200 million, people just go, well, yeah, of course you are. You know, you're already on 140 million. Yeah. It's easy now.
Seems easy when you're 2/3 of the way there.
That's right. But, you know, all those years ago, that sounded like a long, long way away. And it was a really nice surprise to see that people were also wanting to work hard, you know, to achieve that as well.
Yeah. Oh, good on you, Liz. That's awesome. Such a great story. Okay, so we've sort of covered a fair bit of your entrepreneurial journey and Project Gen Zed as well. But so what does the future hold for you then, do you feel?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm not sure. One of my main focuses is now going to be Project Gen Zed. Our vision is over the next 5 years to visit 5 different countries and inspire 50,000 children face to face. So Cambodia is really our launching platform, but next year we'll be concentrating on Australia. So actually running some of these workshops across schools across the country that maybe don't have the resources or don't put into extra education, and maybe from families that don't have that best background. So I'm really excited to actually do that around the country here. Long term will really be just continuing the efforts to really make a difference. And I think that education is one of the best ways to make a difference in the world, wherever it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Actually, just on that as well, I'm always interested to know, you know, you've got so much on your plate and you're juggling a lot of balls. You know, what's your day look like? How do you split up your time? How do you maintain your focus? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. Especially now I've got a little boy as well that's 2. That makes it even more fun.
Yeah. I've just had a little girl 9 months ago.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you. So I know.
So you understand.
I do intimately.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lot of juggling, but the thing that works for me is just having a good set structure. I'm an early riser. Structure?
Okay, yep.
I'm always into work as early as I possibly can be, from like 7 to 7:30. And the first thing that I do in the mornings is spend as much time for the first maybe hour and a half with all of my staff, just to kind of set them up for the day, talk goals, you know, make sure that the vision is there, make sure that everyone's going in that same direction. And as soon as then I've done that, it's all about just splitting my day down between which company I'll work on when.
And do you sort of have set structures around that, or do you?
Yeah, I do. So there's a certain amount of days that I'd work on Project Gen Zed, and obviously Zest is always the most important because that's the core business.
Sure.
So it's always about working out where my priorities are with Zest first and locking those in before I can move on to Project Gen Zed. Mm-hmm. But I think my biggest tip for anybody is making sure that you have a cut-off time. For me, I leave work at 4 because I want to go and spend time with my little boy at that point. And I only work 4 days as well, so I can have that time with him. But even with work phone calls or anything I need to do, my cut-off time is always 6:30. So if anyone even tries to call me about work after that time, they never get that call answered. And that's really important for my husband and definitely for my sanity as well, to be able to have that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you then sort of, alongside the cut-off times, do you have sort of specific things that you do to sort of decompress, you know, after a working week, or just your day, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think exercise is obviously really important for most business people.
Yeah.
I think
what's your poison there?
Well, I dance, so
okay.
I'm a bit of a Latin dancer.
Good on you.
I've been for
With
years.
Your husband?
No, I've tried to get him into it a little bit, but no, that's not working.
Right.
But that's something that I have to do, and I dance. I can't usually dance more than 3 hours a week, but those 3 hours are incredibly important for me to switch off. And it's probably the only time of the week where I actually fully switch off. Mm. And aside from that, just reading books before I go to bed is really key for me as well, to making sure that I actually get a really good night's sleep. And I'm still, you know, getting personal development and learning new things as well.
Yeah, sure. So what are you reading at the moment?
Oh, I've got about 4 books going at the moment, but I'm actually reading lots of social enterprise books at the moment. I don't remember the name, but it's about the guy that started Tom Shoes. Have you ever heard of it?
I have, yeah. I've heard of Tom Shoes. I haven't heard of the book.
The book is incredible.
Right.
I'm a big book reader. I think I've read like 28 to 30 books already this year.
Oh, good work. Yeah, I love
like
reading as well. Is there a particular book that you would say, really changed your worldview or, has had an enormous impact, or that you gift most often?
The one that I gift most often, I think one book that I read really early on in my career was Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yep.
The big book, everyone's read it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just think it's just got those real key lessons in there, whether you read it now or in 50 years, those lessons will always be the same. And for me, it really outlined that where success comes from and the ability to handle rejection and get no's and throw yourself out of your comfort zone. Those are the lessons that I think anyone needs to have to be successful in what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cracker. Haven't read it for a decade, so is it something that you revisit? No?
No, I haven't.
Just read it once.
I remember it so well.
Yeah.
And I always buy all of my stuff it.
Yeah, right. That's always good, having a library for the team.
Yeah.
Very important. Oh, well, Liz, look, thank you so much for joining me today. My final question is, how can people sort of connect with you, connect with Project Gen Zed as well? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, the website's definitely the best place to go, which is just projectgenzed.com.au.
Yep.
We're actually running an incredible competition at the moment just to really start that movement of business owners and entrepreneurs getting together, where we're actually looking for one business owner to actually accompany with us on the trip into Cambodia in October. So there's some great details on there about that. And we are really excited because on the 11th of June, we are holding our launch night. And we have the amazing Geraldine Cox flying in from Cambodia to speak that night, which is going to be great.
Oh, fantastic. That would be awesome. Oh, well, thank you very much, Liz. And I'll make sure all those details and stuff are in the show notes for anyone who wants to find out more and get through to those websites and what have you. But really appreciate your time and you sharing the insights.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
This show is brought to you by our 33 free marketing templates. You can download them at bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Now, we would love your feedback, we would love your questions, and also any guest suggestions. You can contact me on email. I am toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au, or on Twitter, I am @Toby_Jenkins. Also, if you enjoyed the show, we would love it if you could leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks so much and see you next time.